Welcome back, everybody. This is the thejonnymar, and I am continuing with Final Fantasy II. So last time we went to Kashuan Keep to get the Sunfire by utilizing the Eggle Torch. And this time I headed back to Poft by using a Chocobo from the Chocobo Forest south of Kashuan. So what I did is I rode the Chocobo up north and to the west to get back to Poft. And that is because at the end of the last episode we saw Cid's airship get captured, and I wanted to see if Cid was actually on the airship or not. So as we head into Poft, we're going to try to find out what happened. You'll also notice, as I will go into my menu here quickly, that I purchased in Poft the Protect and Shell spell and started to level them up as well. And that is because we are going to start facing enemies that do a lot of physical and magical damage, and so it's good to have those spells on board and also to start leveling them up. So how do we know what happened? Well, we talk to this particular person and they tell us that actually Hilda was on the ship as well, which means we have to head all the way back to Altair. And if we head into the pub, you'll notice that Cid and his little attendant are both gone. So what we're going to do then is head all the way back to Altair. I'm going to continue to level my stuff as I go. And what I'll do is I will meet you back there once we reach Altair, which is, of course, this long little route to the west and south through the mountains. And then once we get to Altair, we'll find out what happened with Hilda. So I will see you in a little bit. All right, so we're back in Altair, and we're going to head in and we're going to find out what happened with Hilda. Why was she on the airship? So we're going to talk to everybody. Find out that the Dreadnought, of course, is very dangerous, that we can use the Sunfire to blow it up, and we gotta save Hilda. Hilda was very obstinate. She said, no, I'm going to go on the airship. For whatever reason, we still don't know why. But we do. So in essence, what we're going to find out here by talking to these people is that basically Hilda wanted to come to Kashuan to try to help us get the Sunfire to destroy the Dreadnought. And that old man over there to the right, he said that basically there's a supply network to the northwest of Fynn, and that is where probably the Dreadnought is located. So that's your hint as to where to go next. So we have the Sunfire, which means we can now potentially destroy the Dreadnought, but we need to actually find it. And it is docked to the northwest of Fynn on kind of this really thin strip of land. And it's a long trek from here. It's going to take quite a while to get there. And there are brand new enemies. Well, a lot of the enemies we actually faced in Kashuan, but there are a couple of new enemies of note. And I'm going to talk about those in a little bit, because in between episodes I actually did some level grinding, and I actually killed some particular enemies to get a couple items, because they do have some item drops that are fairly important for the future. So what I'm going to do is head up to the last kind of bastion before our big trek, which is Gatria, and that is a little bit south of Fynn here. And then once I get there, we're going to start our trek up to the northwest to get to the Dreadnought. So I will meet you in Gatria in a little bit. See you soon, viewers. Alright, so we're at Gatria, and what's of note here? Well, in between episodes, you'll notice I picked up the Scourge and Berserk spells. Now, Scourge isn't required, but Berserk is a very, very useful spell. Now, in the later Final Fantasies, Berserk is something, and this is where I actually got it from, is this particular stretch of forest. There's an enemy called the Magician, and that enemy will actually drop quite a few different types of spell tomes. And one of them that you can pick up is the Berserk. Now, the Berserk spell is basically like Temper from the first Final Fantasy. It does not make you uncontrollable in this game. They haven't instituted that as an effect yet. All it does is raise your attack level. So basically, when you cast it, it increases your attack. So that's pretty useful, right? and so you want to try to get it if you can. Magicians are not super common of an encounter up in this area, but they do happen, and they also do appear in the Dreadnought, but the enemies in the Dreadnought are really, really nasty, so I would encourage you to try to get it if you're going to go for the Berserk spell before you get into the Dreadnought. So again, in that forest that we just went through, just hang around in there, kind of go back and forth, fight enemies till you get the Magician, and then try to pick up the Berserk spell. And if you need to heal, just head back to Gatria and use the inn there. But here we are at the Dreadnought. So we're going to head in. And luckily, in order to gain access, we have a pass. Because otherwise, we would have to try to fight our way through these particular captains here, which are very nasty enemies. So click on him, show him the pass, and he will let us in because, of course, we are special. And then he just heads off, which allows you then to exit if you want to try to heal, but keep in mind it's a very long trek back to any place that you can heal at. So we're going to start traversing the Dreadnought, picking up items as we go. You'll notice there's an invisible wall here. Well, it's not invisible, it's a breakthrough wall, which allows us to get a particular item. And we have some new enemies. The Stunner is a palette swap of the Beast, I don't know, what are they called? The Werecats or Werekitties or I don't know. I don't remember what they're called. But anyway, what's dangerous about them is they can paralyze your party members. Now, the thing about paralysis is that generally it wears off at the end of the round. So most of your party members will come back once the round is over. It basically just stops you from doing anything that particular round. So the Dreadnought is really annoying. It's not super long, but what's annoying about it is that the encounter rate is incredibly high. So you're going to be fighting constantly. And I don't know if this is just me. All those rooms up there to the northwest are actually trap rooms. But enemies seem to almost always get an ambush on me. And that really, really pisses me off. Because basically, you're constantly fighting from behind. And many of the enemies actually use like the blind status on you, or they'll use poison or whatever, and they'll start wearing you down. Hey, it's Hilda Cid. That's kind of why we're here. We're here to save them before we blow up the ship. So let's head over there and release them from their cell here. So what you want to do is after every battle where that happens, especially if more than one person gets afflicted with something, you want to make sure that you're using a Sunya to recover, especially from the blind status. Yes, you should feel sorry, Hilda. Here we are, having to risk our lives to save you after you said we weren't worthwhile and couldn't join the rebellion. Well, you've showed us that you really suck. So Cid tells us kind of what to do here. We can destroy the Dreadnought by throwing in the Sunfire to the engine, and then he's going to take off with Hilda. So that's good. They're going to get out of here. They're going to take the airship to make sure that is saved while we blow up this particular ship to make sure that it does not cause havoc anymore to the rebellion or the world. And we get some thieves' gloves, or thief's gloves. So these are nice because they increase your defense and they also increase your agility. So Guy is pretty far behind the rest of my party members in agility. So they allow him to kind of get up close to basically the level of my other party members. And then we also get a dark bow. So if you are using bows in your playthrough, here's a new one for you. Now, I had a couple viewers ask me about dual wielding in this game and why I'm not dual wielding with my party members. You certainly can dual wield, and that is a strategy I'm actually going to be utilizing with some of my party members later in the game. But for now, I don't do it, and the reason I don't do it in the early part of the game is because I like to have shields equipped. I've kind of talked about that quite a bit throughout the playthrough so far, but I like having shields on for the really high evasion to allow me to avoid attacks. I feel it's more worthwhile to be able to avoid an attack and resist that damage. And we have another new enemy here, the Werepanther. These guys are pretty nasty, lots of HP. So try to kill them as quickly as possible. But most of the enemies can be killed rather quickly up to this point in the game. And you're going to kill them whether you are single-wielding or dual-wielding. Now, obviously, as we're getting to stronger enemies, they take a little bit longer to kill. But I tend to like to be able to dodge their attacks because their attacks generally will have things like, you know, ailments afflicted if they hit you. So having a 60-70% evasion, that allows you to dodge many of their attacks. And you'll notice in the middle there, there's like a bunch of guys just kind of roaming around for some reason. Not sure what they're doing down there. Having a party, I guess. So for now, I'm going to use shields. Once we get to later in the game, as I said, I will start dual wielding with some party members. And that is mainly because I need the increased damage output for some of the bosses we're going to be facing. But we have gotten to kind of the main item kind of catch here of the Dreadnought. So lots of different stuff to pick up. So we got the Trident, which we're going to equip on Gordon. It's quite a more powerful spear. And then we also got the Giant's Helm, which increases not only defense, but also attack. So I'm going to put that on Gordon as well. And then I'm going to save, because this chest to the north of me is actually a trap. So let's do that quickly. Alright, so you open it, you get an ice shield, and we're facing the boss of this area, so to speak. It's not really a boss, but it's the by far most difficult enemy you're going to face in the Dreadnought. And that is the Hilgigus, or Gigas, however you want to pronounce it. So this guy is nasty. He does a ton of damage. He has about 700, 800, maybe 1,000 hit points. And his physical attacks are brutal. So you want to cast Protect. You also want to blast him with magic. If you can, you want to cast Berserk on your whole party. It's not really going to help because his defense is really high. So what you want to do again is equip the Ancient Sword. Our goal is to try to afflict him with the Curse ailment. That will not only make him more susceptible to physical attacks, but it also will decrease his physical attack power. Wow. See? He is really powerful. Even though whenever I look at his sprite here, it looks like his pants are falling down, and he's like trying to hold them up. But he's still able to mash us in the face and punch us so hard that we almost die. So, well on you, you know? Good job there, Hilgigus. But yay, we got him with Curse. So that should make things a little bit easier. Furion's job is just to keep us alive, and everyone else's job is to try to kill him as quickly as possible. Now before I came in here, I did also buy some MP restoring items, and you'll notice that my MP is getting pretty low. And that is because, again, with these encounters, the encounter rate in here is so high, and the enemies have a kind of propensity to hit you with status ailments that you then have to get rid of. So your MP is going to go down very quickly. So by having quite a few ethers on you, or ethers, that is very helpful. So we're going to equip the Ice Shield on Furion, and then we're going to move the Golden Shield to Maria, because they are the ones that have the least defense, so being able to have the best evasion is going to be most helpful to them. And we're almost done with the Dreadnought. It's been a long and brutal journey. It may not seem like it, but that's because I am cutting out all of the random encounters. But this is not fun. These enemies are nasty, and again, especially because of the ambushes. But we're about to kind of the most infamous part of the ship, and that is this maze here. So essentially, it's a little bit of a maze. You'll notice that there are these captain enemies at particular intersections blocking your path. So it's a little bit like in Final Fantasy VI when you're in the caves of Narshi, or Narsh, that basically you have to go through a particular path. The difference here is that these enemies are really, really powerful, and so if you talk to them, hopefully you haven't been talking to them, because they will attack you on sight because you are rebel scum, or curs, as they say in this game. But just follow that path and you'll be okay. But here we are at the engine room. So let's throw in the Sunfire and end this particular nasty threat to the rebellion. We're going to launch our proton torpedo into this very, very small opening to utilize the nasty flaw of the Dreadnought. And we're going to see a new enemy that we've seen before, the Dark Knight. That voice. Little foreshadowing. You seem to recognize his voice. I wonder why. But we got to get the heck out of here, because this place is going to blow. We don't have any Millennium Falcon to take us out, so we're just going to run. Hopefully we won't get ambushed by any enemies. Fortunately, on the way out, we seem to have an item equipped that allows us to dodge all enemy encounters. Or, maybe because the enemies realize that the place is going to explode, the self-destruct sequence has been activated. Please proceed to the bottom platform, as we heard in the Resident Evil games. They know to get off the ship as quickly as possible like rats. And unique to this game, we get a nice little cutscene showing the Dreadnought exploding. Boom! Let's get out of here. All right, so we're gonna head back to Altair, and next time we're gonna figure out what to do now that we've saved Hilda, we've saved Cid, the Dreadnought is destroyed, but what is our next step? So as always, viewers, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you all next time as we continue onward in Final Fantasy II. So long.